Hello everyone, my name is Marco Trombetto. I'm an entrepreneur. I co-founded Translated in 1999 and Menopal in 2007. And with the profit from these two ventures, I started a venture fund, PyCampus. So today, I would like to share with you one important topic, which is how to pitch to investors your startup idea. What we will have today is basically some information on how to do it, some Q&A with you, and then we have a few founders that asked to have advice today about their pitches. So we're going to see maybe 2-3 pitches from these founders, and we'll try to help together. So the reason why we're doing this is because pitching an idea is easy if you know how to do it. And that if is the problem. Unfortunately, we do have very few opportunities of pitching our ideas in our life. And even when we do it, we don't receive the feedback on the pitch itself. We receive very often feedback about the idea. And that's a different thing. So we don't have opportunities to improve our pitch over and over again. At best, we can improve the idea. So it's counterintuitive, and we have very few opportunities for learning how to do it. So that's why we're here today. I think that pitching is not important just for fundraising money with investors. It really is a way you attract the best co-founders, the first employees, and if you adapt the pitch a little bit, also your customers. So I don't have a lot of experience in, unfortunately, in later stage pitching. But I have a lot of experience in early stage pitching. I think that I've seen about between 2,000 and 3,000 pitches of great startups over the last 5-6 years. And what I can share with you today is those learnings from the early stage. I'm also a quite lazy person, but I'm also quite fast in thinking. So after so many pitches, I had the opportunity to work hard and try to understand what are the sufficient and necessary elements for a pitch. And when I say this, I mean the pitch that can convince me or another investor to invest in the smallest amount of time. When you provide too much information to an investor, you just risk of saying something he doesn't want to hear, or you become redundant, and you're probably not super interesting anymore. And if you provide too few information, you may risk of losing the opportunity because they will not understand what you're doing. So after seeing so many pitches, I came with this template, which is very simple. It's about talking about the problem, the solution, the market, the traction, and the team. 5 simple points. A pitch can be made in 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I don't think it should be longer than that. Anything longer than this, I mean, there's no practical interest in the world of investment. Surely, you will have a deep discussion with the investor, but what we are talking about today is how you introduce yourself, how you present your company for the first time so that people can understand what you do. Get a little microphone here. That we forgot. Can you hear me better? I hope. Perfect. So let's start with the first point. So the problem. When you talk about the problem, you have to talk about a pain point of the user, a highly perceived pain point. And the two words are important. It needs to be perceived, it needs to be a pain point. There's many founders that are driven by what I call creation ego. So they focus on what they would like to build. And I've seen very few successful startups doing so. What works is that you understand what people want, and this should be something so perceived, they understand they want it, and it's a pain point. A pain point means that it's so important for them that are going to spend money or time to solve the problem. Also, it should be a pain point that they're already today they're trying to solve in some way. So if nobody is trying to solve the pain point, probably it's not a real pain point, it's not perceived. I can make you examples of that ways of stating a problem. For example, you can say, computer breaks. So here's my innovative computer insurance. So the people don't perceive the problem, and especially in insurances, if you think, if car insurances were not mandatory, very probably many people will not do it. And so this is the opposite of what you should be looking for. You should be looking for something so big as a pain point for the user that is willing to do something. And if there is a law that forces you to do it, that's exactly the opposite of where you want to be. So a good way of doing a pitch, for example, I give you an example of a company that we deeply failed. So Memopal was one of the company I founded in 2007. And we exited that company for about 2.5 million, which looks like a good result. But the problem is that we founded that company doing cloud storage in 2007, 6 months before another company called Dropbox. And we were doing exactly the same thing. But Dropbox was, today is worth about 10 billion. So 2.5 million versus 10 billion. And we started before, and actually we also had more money than Dropbox. So what happened? So the difference was that simple thing, that we were working on something we felt it was the problem of the user. We didn't want people to lose file. And so we say, look, here's the backup for your files. Whatever you put your files in your computer, we'll back up those files so that you don't lose them. And Dropbox was saying, okay, here's the sync. Here's the product that lets you access your files wherever you are. Here's a solution where you can right-click on a file and share the file. And the slightly different is the perception of the problem. Backup was not perceived. Sharing file with friends was highly perceived as a problem, because at that time, Gmail or any other email client were not allowing attachment larger than 10 megabytes. So that was strong. The small thing created a difference in billions of dollars. Surely they've done many other things also very good, but that was an important key component of that difference. So you have to state the problem. You have to make sure that it's about the user. One important reason why you're doing this as a third point is that because you have to create empathy with your investor. And the investor doesn't know about the problem as you do. You probably have spent a lot of time in studying the problem, and the investor, she or he, didn't. So you really have to make sure that they come to your world and understand what you're trying to solve. And the best way is not about talking about what you do, creation ego, but about the problem that other people have. So they create empathy with the problem of the other people. Once you've done that, we can go to the next point, which is the solution. So solution is about telling why what you're doing is incrementally better or a lot better than what people are doing today. And again, I repeated what people are doing today to solve the problem, because if nobody is taking action to solve the problem, that's not a perceived problem. And you should go back to point number one and dig more on that. So I can make you an example of a dishwasher if you want. So before the dishwasher, so I had to clean dishes by myself. So I perceive the problem that I don't want to clean dishes, and that is taking too much time. And so I'm taking action. I'm not throwing the dishes away. I have to do something. And that process with soap, hand, takes time. And so the dishwasher can. If you think about what we were talking about, so cloud storage, we could say like this. The problem could be people would like to share files, but when you do it via email, you are limited to 20 megabytes. And so I have to break down files into multiple pieces via software, or sending the files with multiple emails. Or if I'm techie, I can create an FTP servers to do it. So that's the problem I want to share. That's what I'm doing today already, which is painful. And the solution can be, here's a nice tool. You right-click on the file and you obtain a link that you can share to your friend. Doesn't matter the size of the file. And you don't have to set up an FTP anymore. So that is the typical solution you want to see. You want to tell what people are doing today, then you want to show why you're doing a little better, or hopefully a lot better. So third easy point for today is about the market. So the market is important for multiple reasons. Number one is that you need to be in a very big market, because otherwise you're not interesting for investors. The math behind this is very simple. If an investor, typically a venture capital investor, will invest in 10 companies, and to make the math easy, will lose money on 9 out of 10, and on one company, it needs to have 30 times the return on investment, so that the overall fund did 3x over a certain period of time, which is quite standard. So 7 years, 3 times the money. That could be a nice goal. And in order to achieve this, it means that every single investment you do needs to have the potential of being 30 times, or giving you 30 times the returns. And so imagine that your company at one point will be raising money at $30 million valuation. You raise 10 million at 30 million. And so that company needs to be a $1 billion company at least, if you want to make 30 times the investment. So that's a key point. So you have to show to the investor that the market where you're in is large, is a multi-billion-dollar market. And I will consider $1 billion like to be the minimum place. And the reason is simple, is that because you will make mistakes and you will not be able to capture the entire market, for sure. So you need some room for mistakes. So there is the wrong way of talking about the market, what I don't like, and there is a way that I really like. So the most successful founders I've seen use total addressable market, calculated in a very, very simple way. What they say is that this is the value of what I'm selling, $100, and there is 10 million people that are in this category willing to buy this. So 10 million by 100, that's a billion, okay? It's not more complicated than that. And what very often I see that doesn't work is that people come and say, look, this research company estimate the size of this market to be 20 billion and is growing by 7% year to year. Unfortunately, when founders do that, they make a lot of mistakes, because market research company tends to overestimate or underestimate your startup market. Think about Airbnb, for example. What is the market for short-term rental of your home? It's 0. But the hotel market is extremely big. And so if you take the numbers of the home sharing market, it will be very, very small. So they will underestimate the size. Actually, Airbnb was a substitution. Now, instead of going to the hotel, now I use an Airbnb and I really enjoy it. So they made a mistake by underestimating. There is the other example of overestimating the market. And I have this startup in Italy that pitched to me a few years ago. They came to me and said, Marco, we're building a software for supermarkets, grocery store, where basically we help them with marketing. So it's a platform where they can do marketing activities for the supermarket. And we charge 1,000 euro per month as a fee. And they say, and the market is $2 billion, as this market research company is telling us. And really ask them, how many supermarkets are there in Italy? And he said 10,000. So 10,000 multiplied by 1,000 a month, so 12,000 a year. The total makes 120 million. So even if you sell to every single supermarket your solution, that's a market which is worth 120 million, not 2 billion. So why it was wrong? Because market research company inside a category of marketing will put everything that you're not solving actually. So I strongly recommend, don't look at what the market research company do, read a lot, study a lot, but at the end, come with a simple multiplication. How much you charge per user or how much you earn. The advertisement multiplied by the number of users that you can reach with your solution. That's simple. That is called a total addressable market. So the next slide is the most important one, traction. So many people get this wrong, and those founders that get it right normally just need this slide for the pitch. If you have traction, basically even the other points become unnecessary. And is one case that I like. So by the way, traction is how much your company is growing over time. And so typically if you grow a company and you start with €1 revenue 1 week and you grow 6.5% week over week for about 5 years, at the end of year number 5, and you're starting from $1. That's the potential of compound growth, exponential growth. So what you want to tell to investors is that you are in that path. And great investor can recognize exponential growth from the beginning when it looks like almost linear. You know, it looked like this and then it grows very quickly. And the great investors are able to identify and recognize those exponential companies at the very early stage. And the way they do it is that they look at numbers. They look at, for example, how much you're growing week over week. And if after 10 weeks you keep growing organically at 7% week over week, you are unstoppable. You're going to create a unicorn very probably. And that's the position where you want to be. You want them to understand, even if your numbers are extremely low, €10, 20, 100 euro, doesn't matter. The important is how those numbers are growing. So very often, all the pitches, very often the pitches that I receive don't show traction really. What they talk about is what the founders think it will happen in the future. Traction is exactly the opposite. Traction about is what is already happened. So showing that you're moving fast. And many other founders come to me and say, no, I cannot really do this because we are in a field where we have to build a solution before. And we need money to build the solution. Once we build the solution, then we can show traction. That's again is false, and I will show you in a few examples. If you want to build a very simple software, first, it's surely better, you're in a better position if the team is able to build the software. If you need an external company to do it, that's already a very bad sign. But let's say that the software you want to build still takes maybe 2-3 months of your time. And you can start raising money immediately by doing something very easy. You simulate what the software does in a video, and you show the video to your potential users. And you create a waiting list. So even the numbers of the people in the waiting list that are growing, that's a strong indicator that people want what you're building. And some of the founders will come to me and say, no, but you know, we are an hardware company, so we cannot do it because this will take, we need to hundreds of thousands of dollars in manufacturing before we can produce the first product, then we start selling, then we tell you what the traction is. And again, this is false, and that's the wrong way to do it. You can assemble the hardware yourself first, in non-sophisticated way, just a simple solution, or even better, you can use pre-order platforms like Indiegogo or Kickstarter. And what you do there is simply, you create a design, what your solution does, and you go out and see if people want it. And so really, those platforms are not crowdfunding really at all. They are a great way to validate your product, great way to see that outside people want your product. And the reason why people never do this, don't want to do it, is because the fear of discovering that what you're building is not interesting for people. And that's the single psychological problem that is limiting your success. Getting out and discovering why something is broken is the best thing you can do. The best founders I know are not the ones that have great ideas at the very beginning, but are the ones that are able to iterate faster than the others. Sometimes they change idea even in a matter of hours. They go, they talk to people, they realize that the people are not interested in that, they iterate very quickly. And more you develop, more time you spend in building your solution, more harder it will be to move your solution and adapt it to what people want. So the best advice I can give you is that never build something complex. Go out and talk to your users, get the users to love what you're doing, and once you find something that people love, then you build it. There is also another example of traction. And so you may say, okay, I can do it with software, I can do it with hardware. Now, Marco, I got it. But you know something, we're building something a B2B, and we're building an airplane. And so there is no way, this process is long, it takes 10 years, and we need hundreds of millions of dollars to build a plane so that we can actually show if people are interested. And one of our best investments at Pi Campus, Boom Supersonic, proved the opposite. What Blake and team did at Boom was very simple. They're building the new Concorde, a supersonic plane. And they didn't start by building the plane. They started building a nice visual design of the plane, and they went to airlines to ask for non-binding letter of intent. What's a non-binding letter of intent? It's a very simple letter that says, just in case you will be able to build this plane, and it will cost 200 million each, and it will bring 70 passengers, I will consider, just consider, buying 3 of them, 4 of them, or 10 of them. So you're going to people and you're pre-selling your idea. And it's not even a pre-sales like Kickstarter, it's just a non-binding letter of intent. So what you're showing is that there is traction and momentum in people that like what you're building. So what they did in 3 months, they came back with $5 billion letter of intents from airlines. And with those $5 billion letter of intents, that's the best traction they could show. They raised, I think the first round was about 3 or 5 million. So, and going further, those letter of intents grew to 20 billion. And then some of them, over time, converted into firm orders. That's the progress. That's the fast progress you want to see. And obviously, Boom Supersonic has been raising money at increasing evaluation, and now it's raising more than $100 million. So doesn't matter what you build, how complex it is, the idea of traction is to show that you're moving fast and things are happening and people love your product. And it's not about what you think it will happen, it's about what already happened. So when you get to traction slide and you don't have traction, you have to go back and rethink maybe the problem, the solution, because if you're not able to get people to love what you're doing, is probably the problem you're solving is not perceived, is not interesting for people. So once you have done traction, the last thing is team. And team is about showing that you have the capability of building the solution, and the team is the best team in the world to solve that problem. And every time I say this, and then people say, hey, you know what, we'll never be the best team in the world. But very often, actually, people are and don't realize they are. The Greek will say kairos. It's sure that someone in the world may be better than you at doing that, but kairos is about the alignments of the stars. So it's a team that came together in the right moment to solve that problem. And that alignment of the team is the rare event. And so you don't need to be a professor in a field. You need just to show that you deeply understand the problem and you know how to solve it. You have the skills to solve the problem. So to do that, I can try to pitch one startup to give you an idea. And this actually was a startup that came to me and pitched the idea. I'm changing the story a little bit for an educational purpose here. But one day I think this could be a startup. So the problem, and we will end with the team so you understand why a simple team can be a very effective team. So the problem is many people are in wheelchair and they like to travel, they want to travel. But unfortunately, when they travel, they need to do two things. Either they bring a friend to help with the luggage, or they put the luggage on their legs in the wheelchair, which is impractical, getting it through security and all this in airports. So the problem is clearly a perceived problem. People want to travel and you don't want to always ask a friend to come and help. And the solution is that we build racks for luggage for a wheelchair. So it's a simple thing where you attach your luggage to the wheelchair in the back, and then you can go. It makes you independent. Our solution costs $200, and it's easy. The market. There are 5 million people in the world that travel on wheelchair. And multiplied by $200 each, that's a $1 billion market opportunity. Traction could be something like, we created by hand the first 20 racks and we sold all of them at a conference in one day. Then we went on Kickstarter with a nice industrial design and we raised $200,000 in Kickstarter in 15 days. So, you're showing the traction and the team. So the last point that we wanted to show, why we're the best people in the world. So one of the founders would say, I've been in wheelchair for 15 years and I love to travel. I deeply understand the problem and I really want to solve it. And my co-founder has been designing racks for Mercedes for the last 5 years. So this simple 2-people team has the potential of addressing $1 billion market. And if they do it, I think they can be successful. So to recap, your pitches, this pitch that I've done is very short, but maybe 30 seconds or less. The 5 points you need to talk about is the problem, which is a perceived problem by the user, a big pain point for which the user is willing to take an action to solve it. Then the second point is the solution, why your solution is better than anything that people are already doing in the market. Then the market. How big is this market? You take how much you earn per customer, multiplied by the addressable, by the number of customers in the market. The traction, again, is not what you plan to do in the future. It's showing that you're moving fast and people love what you're doing. Show incremental numbers of growth. The best thing you can show, and the most convincing one, is a week over week number of users or revenue or whatever you want that grows 10% week over week. Even if your problem is not understood, I will see that traction. I will say, look, there is something that they got that I didn't, because people really want this. And last thing, the team. So why you're the best people in the world to solve that problem. And very often, it's not about only the quality of the team, it's the alignment of those expertise that will allow you to build something that people failed in the past. So I think we're done for the first part. One practical thing I want to say about this is that if you have a pitch that match those criteria, please share first with your co-founders, your friends, pitch to them. The best way to improve your pitches is pitch to them and never ask for advice about the idea itself, because everybody will have opinions on the idea. Ask them, how was the pitch? Once you have iterated this a little bit and you have a pitch that resists and can stand these 5 points in a nice way, please write to me, and I promise I will say yes or no on the investment in a small amount of time, a week or less. So I think that for today, we can go to some Q&A from the people that are live, number one. Second, we have some founders that asked for advice today, and so we can review together their pitches and try to improve those. So if there is any question, that's the right time.
Antonia.
I don't see the questions, no. We waited a few seconds for the questions to come to me that arrived, but we don't see them. And Silvia, where I can find the... Or do you want to read the question to me? And I repeat it?
Traction should be calculated on the fee for coming next years or on what we are doing now for money to grow?
Yeah, so the question was, how do I calculate traction in the next year or what we're doing? And I repeated this a couple of times during this. It's never about the future. Traction is about what you already did. And if you don't have traction, again, you have to go back to the other points to try to understand what's happening, or you need to apply one of the techniques that I showed. Create a demo, get people to subscribe to your demo with waiting list, pre-orders on Kickstarter, or letter of intent. You need to get to that. An investor will love to see real traction. Everything you predict is not really interesting, and because we never make those predictions, it's very hard to do it. So it's about the past. Another one, Silvia.
How do you think that global content the address waste time
So the question is that, are we losing time by visiting customers and trying to get letter of intents? And well, it's exactly the opposite. As I said, the best founder I've ever seen are people that are able to adapt their ideas very quickly. They're never the people that generates best idea at the beginning. So after you get your initial idea, you need to iterate with customers as much as you can so that you improve the idea. There is no way that staying close in your office, that idea will be better. You can reach a certain point with the design, but then you really need to interact with people. And again, the best founders are those that interact faster and talk to people more. You can recognize them because they're always outside the office, talking to anyone that could be potentially interested in what they do. And they never fear talking about that. Actually, if I have to get into the psychological profile of those founders, I think that they like to discover why their idea is broken, rather than getting compliments on the idea. So mediocre founders like compliments. The best founders like to discover why that doesn't work so that they can fix it.
When you have an idea and it's difficult to create a prototype, how can you validate your business?
Again, simulate it. You can even, you don't need to build, the question was, if you have an idea and it's hard to build a prototype. Yes, as I said, don't build it at all. I completely discourage you from building unless it's something very simple that you can do in a month. Otherwise, I recommend that you simulate the fact that you have already solved the problem and get pre-orders or people to join the waiting list for your product. Look at what Dropbox did in 2008 on Dig. They posted a small video about what the product was doing, and they received about 100,000 subscribers in the waiting list. Do what Boom did. Take a nice design of the airplane and go to airlines and get letter of intent, or publish it on Kickstarter. A visual design which...
related to traction can be very tricky to measure when you are working on a prototype or an MVP. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, you see, all the questions we're receiving are always about this problem, about traction. And I think because it's the most counterintuitive thing. And if startups were easy, I mean, we're all billionaires. So again, don't think about building your solution. Think that what you're doing is just validating the hypothesis that you have. So simulate, don't build.
Traction and market on a community-based platform, which is social, can be counted on existing Facebook groups that you intended to switch to another platform.
So this is about how to measure traction when basically you have users. And I make a little premise here. So Instagram was sold for $1 billion and WhatsApp for 19 billion. Instagram was not making any money. The same thing like YouTube, not making any money. It was losing money, and it was sold for 1.6 billion, and Instagram $1 billion. So if you're able to show that people are interested in your product and they jump in your product, and so the user base is growing exponentially and in organic growth, which means an underlying thing, that the user that you have are actually inviting other users to join. So if you're able to prove that, that is definitely traction. Traction, you can prove it by revenues, by letter of intents, or by simple number of growth of users. And why this is so powerful is that because if you have users growing and you're moving them from one platform to another, you know how much money the platform is losing. So for Facebook, every user that was going to Instagram, they were losing about $12 per year in advertising revenues. So that's the value of Instagram, if you want. So if you remove 100 million users to Facebook,
quanta gente è connessa?
then they're losing 1.2 billion per year. So buying Instagram for $1 billion was a great deal because they get return on investment on 8-9 months rather than 3, 4, 5 years, typically thing. So even if it looks like a crazy thing buying a company with no revenues, If you move user and grow users, and you're moving out user from where they're valuable, you can, that's a great way to show traction.
From a startup point of view, what qualities do you think are the most important in an investor?
Yeah, so from the startup, what the best investor is. So I have another talk about this, which is how to raise money. And I think that there is a single thing that I can tell you today. Less terms an investor is putting on his deal, better is the investor. So those investors become the one veto rights, board seats, and many other details in the way you run the company, budget control, and a lot of control of what you do. That's a strong indication that the investor is a bad investor. And there is a simple reason for that. So if you are a great investor, then you basically are able to identify companies that would be super successful. And as a math, you don't care about the one that are not going very well. So you create the conditions for which that company becomes a multiple billion-dollar company. If you are a mediocre investor, then you try to make your profit out of the average company that will not succeed. So the company that will stay alive, and so you can, by having a lot of control, you can recoup at least some money. So you can recognize the best investors out there because they don't ask any condition. Very typically, the only condition they will ask is something called a liquidation preference, which means that if the company doesn't work, and no, I give you 100,000 euro and we sell the company for 200,000, so the first 100,000 comes to the investors to recoup the investment. And so 1x, so one time the money invested as a liquidation preference, is typically what you see in the greatest term sheets from Sequoia, Y Combinator, Kleiner Perkins, Accel, Index, and all the greatest venture fund. And if someone is asking you a lot of terms, then it's probably a mediocre investor.
One of the key elements you mentioned is that the client needs to have a clear perception of the problem. Are you telling us that as an investor you want to be interested in the iPhone project, or you have suggestions for startups that are addressing issues that might be valuable but no one knows about its need or problem yet?
So obviously we're talking about innovation. So the problem here is that it is about innovation. You know, the fact that very often we build things that do not exist before. Okay. And so how can be the problem super perceived if the solution doesn't exist, etc. So, and that's, I think that very often here we're mixing up two things. So founders sometimes think that they can create perceived needs. So that you build something that is so good that then the user will change his mind and start using it. That's totally wrong. And the reason why many people think this is possible is because they observe very large corporation monopolists doing so. So if you're a pharma company, if you're Apple, you reach at a certain size where you can actually influence people. Managing a very large company or a monopoly is something completely different than creating a new company. And it's totally a bad idea to think that you can influence your users at the beginning as a startup. The only thing you can do is try to make your users super, super happy. So it's not a good strategy to try to influence people on and hoping that they will perceive your problem by building a great solution. That has never worked.
A question about TAM, TAM. Sometimes the number of users is extremely difficult to estimate because it involves people which is approaching a new market as an artificial intelligence one.
Yep.
There is a real possibility to overestimate or underestimate the market. What is your suggestion?
So the question was about calculating the total addressable market. So it's very hard sometimes to estimate how many people will love a solution. And I think that if you do some work, at one point you will come with an estimation which is reasonable. And the point where you need to go with this is that the investor think also that the estimation is reasonable. There's no way to guess the right number, but your hypothesis needs to be quite valid. So if the way of thinking you're using makes sense and the investor believe it, well, you got two people that can come together to a deal. So try to do your best, make sure that what you're saying is reasonable. And if the investor also believes it's reasonable, it's a nice guess, you can go together in this adventure. And last question, and then we go to some advice to founders.
Let's say there exists a similar thing to what we want to build, and it's already getting popular, but it's proving one of the core assumptions for our product. Could we use it as traction?
So the question is, there is another company that is building something and is having a lot of traction. And this company is not only is proving one of our hypotheses, while we do more of this. And can we use the other company to prove the traction? That's a very bad position to be. I think it's not a good idea. So, and this comes, is the most common thing. You're doing something, someone else is having success, but you say, but we also do this, this, and this. The problem is that what you're saying is that these people are able to execute on a central point that they're solving, and you are creating your differentiation based on other three features that have not been proven. So either you prove that those three things extra that you do are the key elements and they missed it. And so that by solving the other problem that you do, you will grow faster than them. Otherwise, I think it's definitely not something you would like to do. So again, it's about taking one simple problem and showing that people really want it. So the other company proved that one thing they wanted. Yes, you do a copycat. There is many of those, but copycats are very hard because very often people don't understand when you do a copycat what the real essence of that company is. So it's very hard to succeed by doing copycats. And again, if you have an extra feature that you think you do on top of that one, forget feature number one. Prove that people want feature number two better than feature number one. And if feature number two is just a 10% more than feature number one, be sure that the other company at one point would do it the same. So it's not a good idea. You have to prove that feature number two for you is better than feature number one. And so I think we're done with questions. And maybe, we can ask for the advice of the startups, but I don't know then if I will be able to, we try. First time we do this. So book your price, Alberto. I don't know if, so Alberto registered to be advised today. So I don't know if Alberto can join.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can even see you, Alberto. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Fine, thanks.
So, Alberto, what is the problem you're trying to solve?
We are trying to solve the problem of unsold rooms for hotels and accommodation. And we are trying to resolve it with a new booking portal that lets customers send custom price offers to hotels and accommodation.
Perfect. So you're solving a problem to the hotel owners. Unsold rooms.
Hotel and also other accommodation. Yeah. Apartments, bed and breakfast, and more.
That's a well-defined problem. Good move. And so, what do you do? How do you solve the problem that is different from what people are doing today? hotel owners, what are they doing now before you to try to sell those rooms?
The usual solution that hotel owners try to avoid this problem is that when they have a lot of unsold rooms, they try to lower their price or maybe make special offers and so on. And it's not very attractive for the customer. That we are trying to do is that the customer can send a really custom price offer to hotel. So they don't, hotels don't need to lower the price or price solution like this, but just accept offers, receive an offers when they really need it.
Oh, that's very smart. So basically, instead of lowering the price and giving all the user a lower perceived value of your hotel, you allow customers to bid for the room. So the perceived value stay high, and so you don't lose money on all the others, and you can still sell the room. Super smart.
Yeah, of course.
So how big is this market?
The market is the OTA market that we analyzed is like 1,000 billion large, so it's a very huge market.
Whoa.
And we are trying to enter in it.
Okay. So on this one, Alberto, you said it's a $1 trillion market, 1,000 billion.
1,000 billion.
Unfortunately, this is the overall market.
Yeah.
So what you would like to communicate to investor is what is your own unique opportunity. I think it's quite big, but it should be done by taking how much you make, multiply by the number of people that could buy those, and maybe are the room left the last day or whatever it is. So, but it's not 100% of the rooms, it's a portion of it. So can you estimate it better?
Of course. We are still analyzing the market because also after a COVID problem, it's a very strange period to meet this business. But we see that with COVID, hotel managers are trying to find new solutions to avoid this problem. And probably the market share that we could use a month ago, now it's bigger. So we should analyze it. We don't have exact number.
Okay, so one way I will recommend you to pitch to an investor is something I don't have numbers, so I'm guessing those. I would say we have 100 million of nights every year that are not sold, but could be sold. And people will do other things like going into an Airbnb, even if they would like an hotel. Okay, and so we charge a 10 euro commission for those. And so the total addressable market is 100 million rooms multiplied by $10, which makes 1 billion. Okay, now I made the numbers easy so I could do the math. Probably will be very different, but that's the way. So because you're communicating what exactly your opportunities is, not the overall market, which you don't target. Okay, and so traction. Are you having some traction already?
Yeah, we have traction. Actually, we have like 700 accommodation and hotels subscribed to our system, and we are receiving about 5-10 bits a day. Bits every day.
Sorry, can you repeat? You're receiving
5 to 10 bits offers every day.
Okay, so you basically, traction, you need to position this differently, because what is interesting for the investor is that this is moving in the direction of an exponential growth. So what you really have to show is how the numbers are growing, not the total number, because maybe you did 700 hotels in 10 years. That's not relevant. Or maybe the number of new bookings is decreasing every day, which is the opposite of what you want. So the way you to do it is month by month or week by week, you show how this number is growing. And it doesn't matter if it's growing very slowly. If it's growing you're at the beginning, you can calculate if you keep this growth where you will be in 5-10 years. Building a company takes 10 years, and even if the growth is small, then you will win. And last thing, the team. Why are you the best people in the world to solve this problem?
Our team is composed by 2 developers, senior developers, and 3 from account, financial, and commercial people. And our founder, our CEO, is an expert chapter, which in sales, and he tried again overcapturing the tourism market. So he gained a lot of experience from this past experience, and he knows a lot about our business.
Okay, that's nice. I will try to repeat your company for you, okay? And obviously, some of the numbers I'm saying are not true numbers because we can go deep and get it, but as a simulation. So the problem is that hotel owners are not able to sell all their rooms, even in their, they could be very interested in selling under price, but they cannot, because if they decrease the price, all the revenues goes down. Our solution is that we allow customers to bid for the hotel room so that the hotel owners keep the same price, but can still sell to that specific user if he wants. The market is extremely big. There is 100 million of unsold nights for hotels, and we charge $10 commission for every night. So that's a $1 billion opportunity for us. For traction, we launched it 3 months ago, and every week we're growing 6% every week in the number of bookings. We already onboarded 700 people, and we're now at 10 new bookings a day. You see, but the growth was mentioned before. The team, we're the best people to solve this problem for 2 reasons. Number one, our CEO and co-founder has experience in this field, has already created a startup, and he knows about the problem. And the rest of the co-founders, we are developers, and we know how to build a solution. Okay, that could be a very simple pitch, 1 minute, it works. Alberto, thank you so much for your time. And we'll go to the next person. And I think we can go to Giorgio from Filo, Tata.
Here I am.
Ciao, Giorgio.
Ciao, Marco. So,
what are you trying to solve?
Okay. Our problem is focused on our new solution, Tata. Tata will help parents in order, you know that there is a huge problem every year. Thousands of babies are left inside the car, and every year hundreds of them will die. This is the reason that we want to help parents, and we created TataPad. TataPad is a cushion that you can put on the baby cat seat, and it's connected with an application on your smartphone. And your smartphone is connected with our Tata Brain, our cloud solution that it's able to help parents in order to alert them where they are letting the baby inside the car. Or even if you have your smartphone with the battery low, our system is able to detect this the normal situation and will alarm you or your emergency contacts inside the application that you have set up.
Okay, super clear. So the problem you're solving is that avoiding abandoning kids in car. And we know this is a rare event, but every parent is scared about this. And the way you're solving it is a simple cushion that basically connect with your phone. And if the baby is in the cushion and you leave the car, it will notify you.
Yes, exactly.
Super
Clear
nice.
enough.
So, how big is this market?
It's a very interesting question because you can see in Europe you have 26 million of baby that in range from 0 to 4 that should be controlled from the parents. And you can consider also 20 millions of baby in USA market, for example, and the Asia market is huge.
Okay,
And,
so let's say Europe
the
and
total
US is
market-
already 46 million. And how much are you selling your solution for?
At the moment, we have 60 euro for every cushion.
So basically, there is a $2.7 billion market opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
Whoa. Okay, and traction. Are you having some
Well, it's
traction?
very interesting because in the last 6 months, we sold more than 1 million units, and we are discussing agreements across the world for up to 10 million units more.
Okay, so you said you already sold 1 million devices.
Yes.
That's a big number. Congratulations. Okay, so
Thanks.
it's definitely is more than what is necessary. And so the team, why are the best people in the world to solve this problem?
Well, first, because we created our first Bluetooth tracking solution, which is called the PhiloTag. This is our first metrics and proved ability in order to create new IoT technologies across the world. We were the first Bluetooth tracking across Italian market and the third one in the European. And the second one because we have traction. And we are growing across the world in order, we are ready to become a leading company across the security of the baby.
I mean, as I said before, if you have traction, everything else is not important anymore. Doesn't matter if people don't understand what a cushion for baby is, because if you sold 1 million of those, the investor will change his mind and understand that he didn't get something important. But when you say traction, when you say team, you can now also reuse the traction in team. So, but I know it's not necessary, but I think that what you're saying, I try to do the pitch for you, okay? The simple one.
Yes, please.
By following the structure. So people are feared of leaving their kids in car. It's a rare event, but it's a devastating event. We build a solution that will allow you not to leave your kid in the car, not forget the key, by a small cushion or a small device that connects to the car seats and notify you if you do it. The market is extremely big. 46 million people have kids, and we charge 60 euro each. That makes a $2.7 billion opportunity. Traction, we started 6 months ago, and we already have sold 1 million devices. The team, we have been working on Bluetooth technology, our team, for 4 years. We do understand the technology, and we know how to solve this problem. That's enough.
Thank you, Marco.
Giorgio, congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
So, by the way, Giorgio is one of our investment at PyCampus. And I didn't know they already reached 1 million sales in 6 months. I think that, so one thing we want to mention, so with this simple pitch, Giorgio already raised money, but he didn't raise now, he raised many months ago. And how much do you raise?
2.5 million.
Okay. So a simple pitch like this was not more complicated than this. I don't think that you, Giorgio, went talking to investor in very long discussion. But with a simple pitch like this, he was able to raise 2.5 million. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So who do we have else? I think we can do only one. We're a little late. So Angela from Pikeside. No? Wait a second then, if we're too late or not.
Can I have a speaker from the audience?
Okay, a speaker from the audience. Okay, so I think we got, so what they would like to do didn't work. No, okay, so let's move forward. So I think we're done. I think it's 1-8. There was few more founders that want advice. I'm really sorry, maybe today we don't have the time for that, but I will get in contact with you personally and get one-to-one advice. Sorry if we didn't manage to do it today. So to recap today, pitching an idea it's hard because nobody tells you how to pitch. That's why we're doing these things today. Is a great way to not only get investors, is the way you get the best co-founders, the best employee, and if you adapt the pitch a little bit, also customers. The elements are just 5 things: problem, solution, market, traction, and team. This can be a pitch of 30 seconds, as you've seen before, Tata, Philo, so Giorgio. We did it probably in 30 seconds, 1 minute. That's enough for an early stage round. Those 5 points, if done correctly, will give the investor the sufficient and necessary elements for accepting. If they need a lot more information, as someone asked, or if they ask too many clauses in the terms, probably they're not good investors. And so you can save your time and stay and stick to a very simple pitch and not wasting time with people that will ask much more than this. As you know, as you've seen, we didn't talk about financial. Some investors would like to see financials. I personally don't in early stage. I don't think they're relevant. It's about the idea, it's about the founders. And I've never seen an early stage startup being able to make a financial planning that lasted more than a couple of months. So I really hope that that was useful for you. And if you want to get more information about this, I published a book called The New Prince, about the new entrepreneur. And you can find it for free on marcotrombetti.com. And please look at it. There is this section, pitching, where you will find very similar information organized. The book is also available on Amazon if you like to read on paper. It costs some money, so it's not free as the website, but all the money will go to UNICEF if you buy there. So it will be a nice contribution for them. So thanks again for your time. If you have a great idea, please send me your pitch. Would love to give a feedback. Thank you.